Peace, peace. Welcome, family. Welcome. Welcome back to another episode of A Place To Conversate. Back with your man, your host, Jalil, Mr. J. And check it out. My co-hosts, Ali and Mr. Droop will be joining me in just a few minutes. We're going to be talking about the increase in gun violence across the nation over the 4th of July weekend, where 3 kids were killed in that gun violence. 1 in D.C., 1 in Chicago, and 1 in Atlanta. I'll be referencing, just to set it up, give us a frame, a context, a framework to work from. I'll be reading an article from the Washington Post dated July 6, 2020. Major U.S. cities gripped with crisis now face spike in deadly shootings, including of children. As the nation faces a pandemic, financial catastrophe, and massive social justice protests, it is suddenly also confronting a spike in violence in some of its major cities. Tragedy struck in urban centers thousands of miles apart, with 65 shot over the weekend in New York and 87 in Chicago, and homicides climbing from Miami to Milwaukee. Though the summer months in the United States often augur more violence, the recent toll has been particularly devastating in communities where victims include young children. "You shot and killed a baby," Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms said at a news conference after Sequoia Turner, an 8-year-old, was killed during the holiday weekend. The young girl was fatally shot while riding in a car with her mother Saturday night, at a time when revelers and demonstrators across the country were marking the 4th of July with celebration and protests. The same night, 11-year-old Davon McNeil was at an anti-violence cookout in Washington, D.C. when bullets struck him. In Chicago, 7-year-old Natalia Wallace was outside her family's house during a holiday gathering as the shooting began. Both children were killed. I'm going to stop here right now and bring in my brothers, Mr. Droop, and my main man, my big dog, Ali.
You.
What's going on, brothers?
What's going on, man? What's happening?
So yeah, man, we want to talk about this spike in violence that's happening, these kids that got killed over the holiday weekend. We want to talk about, do we think that it's been is that just regular, or is it because of what's going on with the social injustice and the pandemic? Do you think it's other factors going on? Are people just frustrated? What's going on out here? What's going on with the violence?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'll pick it up, man. I think it's just a lot of hungry people, man. I think it's a lot of people out here that just really hungry, man, and fed up, and everything's polarized in political ways, and just, my girl just bought some salmon, and it's up damn near $10 a pound right now. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's not lovely out here for people right now, and I kind of always talk about make reference to Venezuela, and what I saw a few years back, when that whole revolution started, and they was going through what they was going through with inflation, and I'm starting to see that start to come over here, and I was afraid of that, because then you really testing the waters, because now you got people out here who's already struggling. So now you're going to make it even harder for them. In the first place, you're talking about the most marginalized people in the cities right now that's out there protesting, is because they feel injustice already, and they already more than likely about to stop losing they little unemployment checks that's been coming in. If they had a job, there's not a job to go back to right now, or whatever the case is. It's not pretty right now. It wasn't even pretty before this. So, you're going to see people starting to lash out. You're going to see the anger. You're going to see the frustration coming out on the people, and that's what you see. Definitely, man. And, I mean, we was talking about some things earlier. I don't want to get off topic, but it kind of goes into play, though, whole conspiracy. You know what I mean? As far as the government and the New World Order and all of that type of stuff. But beyond that, the optics is bad right now. You know, it looked bad out there. You know, people was already using each other as food, you know, referring to each other as food and how they gonna eat off your plate and all of this other. And then all actuality, that was before this coronavirus was going on. They was talking about taking what you got, you know what I'm saying, because they ain't got it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hold on one second. Hold on, man. I'm not to cut you off, but let Ali jump in here so we can get his thoughts on the topic real quick.
All right.
Well, my thoughts on the topic is just that it's just probably extra rough week or two. You know, everything happens in the summertime, and you know everybody's walking around and driving around with their guns, especially in cities like Miami and Chicago and D.C. And I think we may have a little bit of a well-known, well-worn police tactic of falling back to make a point that, you know, they see so much protesting against the cops and everybody's against the police right now. So maybe they say, we'll fall back for a while and let y'all, you know, police yourself to see what it's like without police protection.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a little bit of that may be going on, especially in Chicago. They're well known for doing that.
Mm.
And plus, just as we touched on before, this country is awash in guns, and lots of young men have guns. And, you know, I used to be a little young gunslinger back in my day, and I know what the mentality is. And I know that mentality is out there for, you know, when you put that together with the guns in this country, you're going to have a lot of shootings. And I don't think anybody intentionally sets out to kill a child, but sometimes they get in the way of those things, and we have those tragedies as well.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the case. Now, because of that, do you think that that's going to be blowback against the protests in a sense? You know what I'm saying? To say, hey, look what's going on. They're saying kind of what you just alluded to, you know, the police falling back, letting the community kind of police themselves, and then watching it so they can point the finger and say, see, this is what we've been telling you all along. And then you say you don't need the police. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I want to say, too, just 1 second, too. It also goes back to the point you were making on the other program about how, you know, it is prevalent throughout the U.S. and it's not just one particular place where this violence is particularly centered at. I make the point that whenever it's made about black on black crime, they usually point to Chicago as the number one, you know, evidence of how blacks kill each other and things of that nature. You were making a point that it's more than Chicago, and as we look and we see this rise of shootings, it's like been New York, Chicago, Atlanta, Milwaukee, Miami. So
all over.
Yeah.
It's all over. That's frustration, man.
All over. But I think it's got a lot to do with the police, because if you see, New York City is usually a very well-policed city, especially for 10 million people.
It went up.
Usually have, that's why I said it went up overnight. You understand what I'm saying? Because they usually keep a lid on their homicides. And overnight, they went out of bounds. So maybe it is the police falling back, stopping with the stop and frisk, you know, taking a hands-off approach to trying to take guns off the street. And the streets feel that, you know what I'm saying? Everybody know when they're going to carry their guns, especially in the summertime and early fall when everybody's carrying their guns, you know.
No
They're
doubt.
not worried about the police. They don't feel like the police is on point like they used to be.
So, what do you think are some of the solutions to trying to cut down this violence that's happening?
I don't think there is a solution. I don't think there's no solution. nothing that we're willing to take up in America. There's nothing that can be done.
So, do you support these aggressive tactics that the police come into these inner city neighborhoods and use when they roll up on black people and treat them brutally and beat them up? And
no, I don't agree with anything that's against the law, but I believe that you have to do stop and frisk. It's a very hated tactic. It's very hated in the black community. It's very hated amongst young black and brown men, because it's not so much that the police are in and out of your pockets. It's the way they talk to you and treat you when they're doing it. You understand what I'm saying? Nobody wants to be treated like they don't mean nothing, like they don't count in the society. But then again, what are you going to do about young black men shooting each other? What are you going to do? Just let it go? I mean, there's a lot of voices in this country that say, just let that run its toll. Let it. One guy shoots another one, you got one dead, you put the other one in jail, and hey, we're solving the problem that way. But I don't know.
I disagree, man, because stop and frisk, man, that's one of the most humiliating tactics that you could possibly inflict on somebody's rights, man. I mean, that means you could just anonymously be, harassed by somebody in a suit or somebody with a badge. And, on top of which you got to worry about the fact that they got the power to take your life if they got the badge. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, regardless to what, men should be able to arm themselves and protect themselves in the United States, man. But, I mean, as far as open carry is concerned, but all of that concealed carry, that's that sneaky trying to murder or be scary with it, and shit happens. I understand why you don't want to see everybody running around with guns just freely neither, but you can't sit there and just harass the people over trying to be out here. Shit, you got the motherfucker that ain't trying to hurt somebody that need to be armed, just like the motherfucker that's out here trying to hurt somebody that's trying to be armed, man.
Yeah, I ain't with that stop and frisk shit. You know what I'm saying? I think that even though, it's a real issue, I still think that's a crazy violation of your rights, man. Just to be randomly rolling up on motherfuckers and, you know what I mean? I just feel like that's
I feel like
not the answer, you know what I mean?
I've been a victim of stop and frisk many times.
Exactly.
Many times I've had police take money from me with no accounting. You understand what I'm saying?
That's the most humiliating feeling.
But let me turn the coin over, though. You understand what I'm saying? I've also been harassed and in and out of my pockets by stick-up kids. You understand what I'm saying? Who easily got the power to take my life. You understand what I'm saying? I've been shot by black men on the street. I know that you either got to have it one way or the other. You understand what I'm saying? Which way do you want it?
I mean, the way that I always thought it was the American way, the dirty way.
Okay, so you saying that we should just let black men kill each other? Just let it happen?
No, I mean, what I'm saying is that motherfuckers we police ourselves when we in jail. Don't you think niggas gonna get tired of just seeing everybody get slaughtered if it was free reign? Motherfucking slow that shit down and police their own self, my God.
No, I don't think so. I don't agree with that concept at all.
When we was in prison, we always kept. I mean, it wasn't like niggas was gonna set it off, but they always kept the peace, kept the law like beyond what the COs was talking about and the big house rules. You know what I mean? So what I'm trying to say is that considering it can't be a police state at that point.
Yeah, I agree with you, Droop. I hear where you're coming from, Ali.
Agree, but I don't. Again, what are you going to do about the problems? And what are you going to do? Are you one of those guys that just say everybody should just kill each other and just let it go? Because a lot of people in this country say that. You got one guy dead, you got one guy in jail. It's a beautiful thing. The system can't go wrong. That's why they won't outlaw pistols in this country. That's why they'll never do it. They won't do that because
They want outlaw what?
It's serving their purpose. It's serving their greater purpose.
And we should every male should have his own rifle, and we should go back to that, man. Like on some real shit.
I believe that too. I believe everybody should have their own weapon. I believe that. I'm a firm believer in owning weapons. But again, we're talking about society. We're not talking about individual. God forbid, somebody can roll up with a gun, and the whole situation is in his control.
Yep.
You're right.
If he wants your money, if he want to abuse your woman, he want to do whatever. And because he has that gun, it's possible.
And that's what makes it such a difficult issue, because you both are right. You know what I mean? That's what makes the issue so hard, because I hear where you both coming from. You know what I mean? I agree with Ali, and I agree with you too, Droop, because although I'm an advocate and I'm against the whole stop and frisk thing, I think it's just a gross violation of rights. But at the same time, I know where Ali's coming from, because it's almost like, what else can you do to try to crack down on, the gun violence and catching these kids out here with the guns and things like that.
But violate your rights.
At the same time, you got the police who...
hold on, brother. Can I stop you for 1 second? What kind of violation of your rights is if a stick-up kid shoots you in the ass or shoots you and kills you? What kind of violation of your rights is that? And that's a huge violation of your rights, I would say.
I mean, you also got the right to defend yourself.
Of course you do, but then again, when you got stop and frisk in place, that mitigates a lot of that. Because
I live a precautionary life regardless, man. So I'm always constantly trying to keep from ending up getting into that type of scenario way before I even get into that scenario. When it comes to that type of shit, I'm trying to you go get somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not even around for that. You know what I mean? So you got those that is just out there that's preying on those that's sleeping and not really paying attention to their surroundings when they out there just lounging it up, soaking up the sun. Shit, look at Pac. Them dudes is on the way to the club. Like, I mean, you could get it at any time. You know what I mean? But if you always...
Again, goes back to what kind of violation of your rights is that, sir?
I mean, that's the violation that you got the chance to address if you live a precaution.
Okay, stop right here. How do you address it?
By being armed yourself and ready.
Everything going for everybody being armed. You already know that. That's what stop and frisk is all about. They ain't going for it.
Yeah, because you're
especially in the Northeast where we live, in the Northeast, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts.
You're talking about cities where you can't open carry, and they need to get it back to that, because back in the day, I mean, when they was riding horses, motherfuckers drove around with their sword. You know what I mean? And I mean, rode around, you jumped on your horse and you left with your sword. That was what you had to take that, just to protect your own fucking life. Excuse my language.
So the only thing about that is, those rules are different when it comes to people that look like us. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to firearms, bearing arms, you know what I mean?
Story.
So, I mean...
Again, I'm going to take it back to young black males. Black males in between about 16 to 30, 25, 30. There is a culture in this country of us. The way we listen to our music, the way we treat each other, the way we talk about each other. There is a culture of us shooting each other at a very, very high rate. You understand? No matter how else you talk about the situation and try to come at it from different angles, there is a culture in this country of young black men shooting each other and killing each other. And what can you do about that? You're the mayor. You're the mayor. What are you going to do in your city, sir, to stop that? That's what everybody's asking you. The media, the press, the people in the neighborhoods, the people in the communities. Everybody's asking you, Mr. Mayor, what are you going to do to stop this but gun violence?
Police aggressively in those neighborhoods where gun violence is the highest.
There you go.
Like they do already.
That's the only key. That's the only solution. There's no other solution.
And in that,
there's no other solution.
That what you saying,
right.
Ali?
It's either one or the other. I mean, you can either catch hell from the police, or you can catch hell from the stick-up kids, or the kids that want to shoot you, the kids that don't like you. You stepped on his shoe, or you said something to his girl, or you scratched his car. You motherfuckers, that shit will be the death sentence in many, many hoods across this country. So. Many, from California to New York. You can start in Oakland and end in New Jersey, Newark, New Jersey, all across this country, everywhere in between.
So
everybody's armed, everybody's mad. You understand? It's a volatile situation.
You see how they do in Brazil, right? You see them hood site shits where, excuse my language, but where they be showing them gruesome some murders. They be in Brazil walking up on dudes on the porch. They be walking up to dudes at their job. Yeah. They be walking up on dudes in their bed. They be waking them up just to pop.
I seen a dude kill these dudes, just hack a dude to death with machetes.
Yeah, yo, you seen that too?
Yeah, I think you seen me that. Yo, that's on
crazy. YouTube?
Nah, this like hood site.
Yeah. I mean,
but like I said, in some of these hoods, man, I'm telling you, I would not want to live in some of these hoods in like Chicago or Oakland or, you know what I'm saying, across this country. I wouldn't want to live there, man. Not with these young kids with these guns, man.
That's why Seattle went down like it did with that chop shit, because they actually took something over and tried to police it themselves, act like they was anyway. And they couldn't really. Motherfucker ended up getting killed inside that shit. So
a couple of dudes got killed with them.
Yeah, but still, that was an experiment, because we is the big experiment, this country right here.
But I'm saying, without police, we ain't gonna make it, man. Even though police need to be defunded and taking a lot of power taken out of their hands, we can't make it without them.
And that goes back.
It's brutality. It's just barbarity.
Yeah, that goes back to the conversation we had on the last episode about defunding the police. Like I said, I'm for policing. You know what I'm saying? I'm a strong proponent for policing. The issue, like I said before, is my problem is you got these white supremacists and these Nazis impersonating police, and therefore, how am I to know the difference? That's like a barrel of snakes. You got 100 snakes, and 1 or 2 might not bite me. Am I going to stick my arm in that barrel to find out who ain't going to bite me? So I got to treat every one of them accordingly and look at them all the same. I wouldn't know who's going to be the good cop versus the dude who's looking for any reason to shoot me simply because of a minor traffic violation or whatever. You know what I mean?
And I think that goes back to the feeling of impunity that all cops work under.
Exactly.
You understand what I'm saying? They know they don't got to answer to the people they're policing. They don't have to answer to you and me and Joe Public. They don't have to answer. And they know that any crime they commit, they're going to be covered. Their friends are going to lie for them and stand up for them. And they know that the video ain't going to be released for 2 years. And they know how this works. You understand what I'm saying? They understand that they're covered. So they can be any kind of bully that they really are inside of their heart. They can be that, because nobody's going to stop them.
Yeah.
You can make complaints and all that all day long, and that don't mean nothing, less than nothing.
Nope.
As we seen with Derek Chauvin.
Exactly. So, I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, I'm on the fence because, like I said, I'm for policing, but I want to see the violence. I want to see the violence come to an end. I don't want to see kids getting killed in the community. I mean, it's the saddest thing in the world when a child gets killed by gun violence. You know what I mean? When a child gets killed, period. But, shit like that really shouldn't be happening. You know what I'm saying? And, unfortunately...
But listen, though, what you forget is, imagine, my dude, if you had to live there. If you had to raise your kids there, imagine how bad you would feel in your heart, man. You can't get away from that shit.
Yeah,
oh my goodness.
I couldn't, man. I couldn't.
It's all over there, everywhere, especially Chicago, bad. Baltimore, bad. Motherfucker. New York City was always bad, but they've been real good for the last 10 years or so, man. But better, you know? And, I mean, to record, they was always 3 times higher than us in the murder rates. But, you know, they definitely had calmed down for, like, the last decade or so. And overnight, you know, that's how you started this with gun violence.
That's what that $6 billion was doing for them. They was spending $6 billion a year for the police in New York City.
But the cameras crazy. That shit was like a whole.
That's all part of it.
Amsterdam, Broadway, anywhere through, you know, Harlem, Manhattan. You know what I mean? Through all of that, it was monitored like, you know, nobody's business, man. You know. They got cameras everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go anywhere in today's society and not be filmed. I mean, and not only that, it's no expectation of privacy when you're in public anyway. So you got to assume at any given moment you're on some type of camera, no matter where it's at. Given time when you're in public, there's no expectation of privacy when you're in public. So. But yeah, man. So, any last thoughts? Give you guys the final word.
I'm gonna say like this, man. Just, you know, I want to see everybody be easy, come up out of this little funk that's going on right now, venting on frustrations, and the heat ain't gonna get you nowhere, you know. But I mean, that's really how far I'm going to go with it. I ain't going to go too far into depth. I'm on a very, very thoughtful plane today as far as aesthetically speaking. You know, I still got like maybe 3 curses and so far, so I think I did good. But I was able to catch my... But good looking out on a couple seconds of... fame or whatever. Right.
Ali, what's the word, brother? Close us out.
I don't know, man. I'm just thinking that, you know, the rise of violence that we see, and I think it's just a summertime thing, just a black thing, man. Part of our culture, man. You know, who's even say that that's wrong, man? That's just what we do. And police try to stop us. That's what they do. And what you can do is just get away from the areas where they're heavily policed and heavily violent. That's what I always preach, and that's what it always comes back to for me. You just got to get away from those areas. Stay away from those areas, and everything should be okay.
Yes. So I give it to the people. I pass the ball to you. I ask the question, you know, who's the responsibility lie with? Is it the police or is it on the community? How do we balance the two to decrease the violence, but yet keep the community safe? You know what I mean? Without being brutalized by the police at the same time and having our rights violated. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Hit us in the comment section if there's any content you'd like to see us discuss on this channel. And once again, thanks for joining us. Peace. Good night.